Tonight on Sports Scene, we look at the 40th National Game Fishing titles held off the coast of Port Moresby. Hekari suffered their first loss of the season in the Telikom National Soccer League, losing to Besta United 2-1, with Tommy Sammy carried off. And our Boxers returned from Australia after 2 months of hard training. Good evening and welcome to Sports Scene. In tonight's episode, we have a pretty good variety of different sports, and I'm joined by Mr. Jeremy Morgie.
Dion, thank you. It's great to be back here in the studio once again with you.
You were missing last week, so it's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, the SP Sports Awards that happened a week ago. We actually worked until late into the night by around 1-2 o'clock, and it's a bit harder than it looks. But yeah, it's just great to be back here once again.
No surprises with the winners there. Dikatoa and Stephen Curry taking out male and female sportsmen of the year. So that was no surprise. I wasn't surprised at all. Were you?
To an extent, it was expected. I mean, their performances did far outweigh any others that were done by the other members of the elite sportsmen and women here in the country. But the other contenders there were pretty good themselves.
I noticed that the weightlifting dominated that night with both of the junior female athletes and the male and female athletes of the being weightlifters.
Yeah, B. Ovia and Fred Oala taking out the junior male and female sports person of the year, the athlete award. Full, credit to them. I asked Fred Oala's parents, and he said, it's just about being dedicated to what you do. B. Ovia, on the other hand, a little bit shy, young girl. She's in grade 10 in high school over here in Port Moresby. But Dikatoa, Stephen Curry, congratulations to them again.
Yep. Great. Now, this week I've been following game fishing, the 40th National Game Fishing titles here in Port Moresby. That was pretty interesting because I've never covered game fishing before. You might have had some experience, but I, on the other hand, was pretty much trying to take in everything as it comes. So it was a pretty exciting experience for me.
I actually heard you got a little bit seasick.
Oh yeah, just a slight bit. I got to go out on Friday, and spent the whole day out there. It wasn't a very successful day of fishing for the team that I was with, but it was a great experience. I got to know a little bit about the sport, how it actually works, and it's actually a pretty cool sport. Like, I actually wouldn't mind trying game fishing. I mean, fishing at home, you do that like as a way of getting, protein in the villages and stuff. But getting out there for game fishing, it was an experience that, it was surprising. I found it pretty interesting.
Well, here I look at the first 3 days highlights.
Day 1 of the National Game Fishing titles has proven to be successful, with about 45 fish caught from the 21 boats that have entered so far. Among them was a 41.5 kilogram yellowfin tuna caught by Mike Gibson aboard Osprey, a 40 kilogram sailfish by Russell Curtin on Madness, and the unfortunate Molly Hidaka, who caught a massive 50 kilogram yellowfin tuna on Catalina, which was disqualified as he missed the weigh-in by a crucial 15 minutes. Day 2 of the national titles yielded slimmer pickings from the fishermen, with the catch of the day being a 46.4 kilogram yellowfin tuna by David Young aboard Desperado. President of the Game Fishing Association, Russell Curtin, is pleased with the turnout of this year's national titles.
The national titles this year, I'd say outstanding success so far. It's been brilliant. We've got, I can't tell you the exact numbers yet, but it's around 200 people so far have entered the national titles. We're expecting a few more. Easter weekend coming up, we normally get a few more people come in for that as well.
With the shootout scheduled for tomorrow, the competition is expected to heat up as the Easter weekend draws near. Day 5 of the 40th National Game Fishing Titles this morning saw the anglers compete in a shootout.
Well, the shootout's a one-day tournament amongst the whole game fishing tournament. And we all go out and try to catch a marlin. It's all about marlin. The boat that tags the most marlin, wins the shootout.
After day 4 in the boats points, Hooker 2 took a big lead in the weight category, followed by Osprey and Santa May. In the tagged category, Madness leads, followed by Hooker 2 and Santa May. The angler point sees Craig Armstrong lead in the weight category, followed by Rob Hewlett and Rob Batterham. And in the tagged category, Terence Hulley leads, followed by Russell Curtin and Andy Page. The national titles not only attract serious anglers vying to be named champion, among them are youngsters Delvin Lang and Adam Che in Team Chomi, who love the sport of game fishing.
Oh, I just like the adrenaline, like when the rod, you hear the ratchet go off, and just like being able to go out with your mates and your family and stuff on the weekend, have a good like afternoon or day, yeah.
The sound when the sound of the reel when it goes off, like I can't make the sound because it's pretty embarrassing, but yeah, that's all. And when you catch the fish, it just looks beautiful.
The competition is to head into its final leg over the weekend before the competition comes to a close on Sunday evening. The end of day 5 of the National Game Fishing Titles saw Robert Doyle reel in a massive 48 kilogram yellowfin, but unfortunately it was not counted as this was the shootout round.
It's the wrong type of fish, but it was all right. Yeah, it was a good fight. It's brought me to my knees, that fish, actually, so yeah, it was good fun.
Team Osprey is performing well, coming in second after Hooker 2 with a commanding lead in the weight category. Visiting angler from Australia, Mark Bird, had an impressive catch, reeling in a big yellowfin tuna which would score his team Caballaro a handy 100 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's 100 points, so it all goes towards the grand total at the end, and see how I end up.
Heading into the Easter weekend, angler Craig Armstrong leads in the weight category and Madness tops the competition in the tag category for the boats. Now after the break, we'll bring to you more of the 40th National Game Fishing Titles and the presentation. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sports Scene. Now we'll talk a little bit more about the National Game Fishing Titles here in Port Moresby.
Yeah, Dion, one of the questions that I was really interested in is the different categories that they have. I do understand that at the end of the day, it's about catching the biggest fish that you can with the smallest line that you have.
Yeah, so pretty much I heard that it's 3 times the weight. I'm not too sure, but I heard it's 3 times the weight. So let's say if you have a 8 kilogram line, 8, 16, 24, so your fish must weigh over 24 in order for it to qualify as points, as getting points. So it's pretty interesting because the smaller the line and the bigger the fish, the more you rack up the points.
Now, how many participants were there in total?
There were over 200. I spoke to the president of the Port Moresby Game Fishing Association, Russell Curtin, and he mentioned that this year's participation was had a bit over 200 participants, and it was a really good turnout. On the first few days, they had some pretty awesome catches out at sea. So yeah.
Now, Dion, I understand also there is a junior category.
There were actual junior fishermen and girls actually taking part, so it's really interesting. I thought that it was mostly for the middle-aged people and older people into fishing, but also there were youngsters that were out there, so it was really encouraging to see. Last night saw the end of the national game fishing titles in Port Moresby, the 40th one, and here are the highlights from the presentation.
Now, I'd like to support a couple of Russell's comments, particularly all of our anglers. Thank you very much for coming along. And in particular, I'd like to thank our visiting anglers that have come from other parts of PNG and a lot from Australia. I'd like to thank all of the skippers. I'd particularly like to thank the two boats that drove around here from Ley. Many thanks, Bob and James. Great job. Yep, round of applause for that. And also special thanks to Barry Cross and Benny Colvin. Good to have you blokes up here, and I hope you come up again. You're welcome anytime.
After the break, we bring to you round 10 of the Telikom National Soccer League. Back to the show. Now, this weekend had the round 10 of the Telikom National Soccer League, didn't it, Jeremy?
Yes, it did, and a couple of games, actually two venues used. The first was over in Madang with the match between Madang FC and FC Port Moresby. Both teams going in there, a lot of form, but at the end of the day, it was the home side, Madang FC, defeating FC Port Moresby by 4-2. So congratulations.
Congrats to them.
To the boys up there.
Now, the last time they met in Madang, it was a different. Oh no, it was Hekari actually. Hekari had the advantages, so it was good for them to actually win a game on home soil.
Yes, Madang's been very, very strong, especially at home. And with, in all honesty, the support. You know, when I travel to the SIK and also going over to Laiwaran, the support there is massive.
They really get behind their
team. They
team.
get behind their players, and it's something I'd like to encourage people down here in Port Moresby to do so for the matches up in Bomana, although I do know it's a bit out of the city.
Now, the guys from the under-23 national team that were over in Solomon Islands, how did they do? How did they perform?
Oh, they performed very well, actually. Well, to make it easy, here's a look at an interview that I took with the coach for the under-23 national squad, Ricky Herbert.
Yeah, look, it's a massive opportunity really for, I think, for the country, and I've only been here a short while, and as you know, I think just a small camp in Ley, and then 5 or 6 days with the boys in the Solomons, which was the first time I saw them play any sort of meaningful international football. So pretty early stages yet, I think. 3 months of preparation still to go, but I think very positive coming off the back of the Solomons. I think it's the first time PNG have won a game there, so I know with New Zealand it was always a difficult place to go. So that's a good step in the right direction for us. But I'm here today watching the players, and great to see that 14 of them were on the field today playing.
Now, Jeremy, I understand Hekari suffered their first loss of this season.
Yes, they did. Surprising. Well, to be expected, kind of maybe. Hekari going in there in form. They tested out a number of their imports as well, in preparation for the O-League. But this was a best squad that Coach Ricky Herbert mentioned are coming off great victories, especially against the Solomon Islands under 23 squad. So that best team that took on Hekari, they were firing. They were on a high.
I hear that the under 23 team had quite a number of Besta players, a number of the youngsters that were coming through.
Yes, in fact, the entire squad itself was dominated by Besta FC players, and a lot of those boys brought back that international experience when they took on Hekari.
A great win for the boys.
Great win, 2-1 victory. Both goals coming from Besta's Freddie Stephen, both of them penalties inside the box. One right on the stroke of halftime, the other one towards the end of the second half.
Now I hear Tommy Sammy got carried off.
Tommy Sammy got carried off, yeah. He actually suffered a nasty cut to the back of his head. He was actually trying to run into the 18 yards box when Vagi Coniel, the goalkeeper for Besta, went up to grab a high ball. Now the second game, Dion, was between Oro FC and Admiralty. Admiralty scored first. Oro replied by both brothers. It was Ian and Becken Yanun who both scored for Oro FC. And right on the dying stages of the game, Raniel Egan's takes a penalty from inside the box. It ended up with a 2-2 draw. Admiralty have come under fire recently, mainly from people on social media, which isn't always the best way to express. But Admiralty certainly deserve to score at the end of the day. If the defense lapses and they lose concentration at these most crucial times in a match, that's what happens. One of the things that in theory, goals come either in the first 5 minutes of the first half, or the last 5 minutes of the first half, or the first 5 minutes of the second half, and the last 5 minutes of the game. Why? Because people's concentration levels are at their lowest.
I see.
That is always one of the easiest.
Coming straight off the break and then into the break.
Yes, so it's very important that all players, whether it's the goalkeeper up to the striker, maintain that level of concentration right throughout. But it is difficult. Conditions on Saturday weren't very easy. The weather did play a part. It was a very hot match in the afternoon, especially that second game between Admiralty and Oro. In fact, any chance that was taken, the players were coming over to the sideline and taking drinks. You could just see it wasn't a really good day.
Well, it's a good sign to see most of the under 23 players backing up from Solomon Islands and performing extremely well, especially as the Pacific Games is approaching, and we're also going to be having Australia and New Zealand coming on board. So it's going to be a really good challenge that I see, with our football team, preparing not only for the Pacific Games, but it's going to be used as a qualifier. So they're going to have a chance to see, where they are probably against the Pacific's best in the likes of Australia and New Zealand.
Well, the great thing about it is our under-23 squad have been playing, the majority of them have been playing together. For a start, you have the squad that was dominated by Besta players, but then Hekari also contributed about 6 or 7 players into that squad as well, and all the others 2, 3, 4, etc. So these are players that have been playing together for a long time. Now, under 23 striker, PNG's under 23 striker is Tommy Sam. He plays with Hikari. He used to be with Pesta. And this is a team that, while it may take some time, but they are going to gel. And while it is an advantage playing here at home, they will be under an extreme amount of pressure to win. But having defeated the Solomon Islands under 23 national squad, now this is the same Solomon Islands team that beat Hikari 2-1.
That's right, just recently.
Just recently.
Wow.
And for our boys to beat them, and mind you, Hikari is still considered a powerhouse in the Oceania region. So that only shows that the team will move from strength to strength. And
exciting times for football in Papua New Guinea,
I'm
especially.
really excited. I've got a couple of people I know personally who are in the under 23 squad, and I sent them my own congratulations as well. And I know they'll do well. In fact, guys, you will have our full support when you're playing.
Go PNG for the 2015 Pacific Games on home soil. Encourage everybody to get out there, grab your tickets early before they sell out, and support. Get behind Team PNG this July. Welcome back to the final episode of Sports Scene. Now, MTV's Godwin Eki got to catch up with the PNG Boxing team who returned from Australia after 2 months of hard training. Now, MTV's Rafael Akore is a part of that team as well. So yeah, our team's been preparing really well. They got to compete in a few state tournaments, and even though they weren't fighting in their actual weight category, they actually did really well.
Yeah, Rafaela had actually sent up information, and she was saying that, of the boxers that went down, we had Jonathan Keama, as well as herself, and these are people that have been in form recently, so to speak. And she mentioned that because they were taking part in the Queensland titles, so they were fighting against boxers in a heavier category.
And they actually did perform extremely well with that, Debbie Carroll, So I'm actually really looking forward to the prospects of them probably raking in a few medals at the Pacific Games.
Well, when I asked Rafaela about it before she left, I asked her about the expectations of the coach. Now, he said, and he had to admit it, he said, right now the team is just working there. He is expecting them to lose over the next couple of months, only for them to get better. He said, at the end of the day, the plan for the national boxing team is for them to peak in July. So all of the training, all the fights that they've been going through are specifically tailored for them to reach that point come July.
Training is really good with the team. The boys been really pushing. Bepu's been really good. He's the boxer that will be going for the youth Commonwealth Games in Samoa, Western Samoa, and he's also with the team preparing for the youth Commonwealth Games in Samoa. And as well, we have Louis who won his bout, which was good, and the others that we all here just to give us a good competition. So otherwise, the team is doing well. They've been training hard, pushing hard every morning, afternoon, and finally we have our first tournament.
It'll be exciting. I mean, with the home crowd, and And I was watching some of the footage from the 91 games, and to see the crowd really get behind our national boxers, it was so exciting. And I'm really looking forward to the same thing happening this time around in front of a home crowd. Just a reminder, you can find us on MTV Online. Follow us on Facebook as well. Join Scholar every Thursdays for Hotspot, and Road to Port Moresby 2015 with Lorraine on Wednesdays. Thank you very much again, Jeremy.
Thank you, Dion.
Have a pleasant evening. Good night.
Good night.